What's up, 31 fam? How you doing? Welcome back to Horror 31. Got another episode of Horror Hangout for you. This is becoming a pretty regular weekly show, and I'm very excited to have my friend Nick on here with me. He's the very first person I ever did a horror podcast with. So I've got a lot of respect for Nick. He's got a lot of knowledge, and nothing else. I love talking to him because he's my friend. So you guys should enjoy this episode. It should be good, and we'll probably go on some tangents. And the movie we're talking about is called The Call. It's new on SHUDDER. I believe it's exclusively on SHUDDER. And I would bet that here in the next few minutes, we're going to be talking about that movie. And then all of a sudden, if you're not paying attention, you're going to go, wait, what are they talking about? Because that's what we do over here at Horror 31. We don't stick to any kind of script. We just talk. So anyways, what's up, Nick?
Yeah, so do you normally show the trailer or anything, or?
No, because they always block that stuff, and so I just don't mess with it anymore. I'll put up some stills here in a little bit. I'll edit some stills in the movie poster, but generally speaking, this is just, most people probably listen to this versus watch it anyways, because it ends up being long form when we go for anywhere between 1 and 2 hours most of the time. So right, yeah, the first couple I did, I put the trailers in, and they just were like, brr, 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 and I was like, you know what, this is stupid. But
that's funny because of like fair use stuff, I thought.
It doesn't. I mean, YouTube doesn't care, and so when the people can go, oh well, we copyright claim that. I have no way to fight that unless I have a lawyer, and they know I don't have a lawyer at this many subscribers. Now, when I'd be willing to bet when I get up into like the significant numbers, they're gonna probably slow down on that, if not stop it altogether, because they know that at some point you will have somebody that can send a cease and desist, and you can get that stuff stopped. You can get your money back, because it's all stupid. We're promoting somebody else's movie. I don't really understand why they care so much. I mean, at the end of the day, on this channel right now, I'm getting zero money for this. Even if it was monetized at the wazoo, I'm not at the point yet with my subscriber count because I had to start a new channel. So this is mostly just for experience and enjoyment for me until I hit that 1,000 mark. But we're halfway there. We got 550 roughly. So I'm pretty stoked. We should hit that 1,000 before too long. But yeah, that's ultimately why I don't do that. It's really annoying.
I remember we did a couple podcasts, well, a couple videos at your comic shop.
That was hella fun. And that's the one I was referring to a minute ago. That's the first one I ever did that was horror related. And
yeah, because I've actually always been, I've actually mostly been like a horror guy, and then comics was kind of ancillary to that for me.
Okay.
And so, like, in fact, one of the first comics I got as a kid, I remember we used to go to this place. It's called 21st Century Comics, and it was in the city of Orange, California. My dad used to take us there, and I remember seeing on the rack what I found out later were reprints, but it was the Tales from the Crypt comics.
Oh.
It was those 90s gemstone reprints they did. And so, actually, my favorite the one that I first saw, which later ended up being my favorite, and it was actually kind of like, it looked like the Creepshow comic cover that is in the movie, the one where it has Nathan Grantham coming out of the grave, and it's like, we probably have a screenshot we can show, but
which one is it? Which one? It was the one you're referring to is the Creepshow one.
So since Creepshow is an homage to Tales from the Crypt.
Okay.
If you look at the Golden Age comic, Tales from the Crypt number 22.
Okay, I'll pull that up.
That one, the Creepshow, the Creepshow movie from the 80s. That one where it's Nathan Grantham coming out of the grave, and the comic book that they're reading as they go through the stories.
Oh, gotcha. That's where I had them backwards. Okay, I see what you're saying.
So yeah, I always loved that Creepshow cover too, and it was a shame they didn't make that cover into a comic. Like, it was more like a trade paperback, but they made a comic out of it, but it wasn't really a comic. But they made something out of it, and then they redid the cover, and I was like, oh, I wanted that Nathan Grantham cover, like the one in the movie.
Yeah. But I hate when they do that. I hate when a movie has something like, the Avengers have had to do it, I guess, because it's going to be impossible to get those kind of books in a movie, but they've had where they have like a bunch of comic book movies have done it, where they had comic books that were related to, the animated movie did it, and they messed up the artwork. They did Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, and they had a bunch of the first Spider-Man stuff, all the significant Spider-Man stuff. It was on the like the books were like, it would have like Amazing Fantasy 15, but it would say something else. It was like Amazing Adventures of Spider-Man or something like that, #1. And I was like, man, I know it's not quite the same what you're talking about, but I hate when they mess with the artwork. Just leave it the way it is, and if you put something in a movie and then you're gonna make a representation of that on paper, make it the same so we get what we remember and what we kind of wanted out of it to begin with. But you know,
right. In fact, there's a reproduction you can buy that's somebody like an unauthorized reproduction on Etsy. You can buy where somebody like painstakingly went and made the comic of all the panels that were shown in the movie.
That's awesome.
So like it's a comic, but it's only a few pages because it's everything that was in the movie that was shown.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I wouldn't mind snatching up one of those. I mean, dude, it's all just artwork. If somebody made it, dude, I commend them for that. I think they should do that, and I think they should be allowed to do that. I hate all this. It just all boils down to greed. So everything that people try to do that's creative, it gets stamped out. Just like the adding a trailer to this video. A trailer would help this video promote that movie, and still they're like, nah. We'll take your 14 cents. Like, what are you talking about, man?
Give me that 15 cents.
Yeah, bro, it's so silly, but whatever.
That's largely how I got into comics, and then was through the EC reprints, and then later I found, like, you know, after I started going through them, I was asking questions, and then and then I found out, there's actually these Golden Age ones, and I think I had saved up a bit, and I got like a Vault of Horror number 33.
Nice.
And it was
Those
like
Golden Age stuff's expensive, bro.
At the time, it was like $40, and it was like a 4.0 probably.
Shoot, what's that cost now?
Probably like $500 now.
Ooh, that's so much money. Pardon me for a second. I was gonna say, while we're talking, I'm gonna take my medicine because I forgot to do it, and if I don't do it now, I'm gonna end up regretting that in 30 minutes. So.
Oh yeah, do what you need to do. But
yeah, I'm still listening. So yeah, dude, man, that Golden Age stuff gets pricey.
Yeah, I don't actually, you know, I used to have like short boxes upon short boxes of comics because eventually, you know, you start collecting things and then you're like, oh, let me get this. And then I branched off into Captain America.
Oh, yeah.
My brother branched off into Spider-Man, and then we would like cross-read each other's comics. But actually, you know, if you were to get like maybe like I have a couple Golden Age books that I really like, comics that I really like, and they're actually graded because I was just making sure they didn't get any worse.
Right.
It's almost nicer just having like a few really nice specimens that you can set up and enjoy rather than like thousands of dollars you spend on short boxes of stuff you never read or never get to, and is not worth that much when you actually try and move it.
Dude, I'm telling you, man, I do the same thing with records almost. I'm way pickier with my albums now than I used to be because of that same reason.
Yeah, if you ever need money, it's like, oh, I can move a Tales from the Crypt 22 like that pretty much. But I can't move like a bunch of the reprints that fills up a short box and now I don't have room for. Right.
Now those are good to have on like your coffee table for your friends to look at and stuff. But if you're gonna collect those, you got to have a lot of room and you got to be somewhere where you're probably not gonna move. At least if so, not often.
And they just stack up so quickly. But I liked the series so much as a kid that I actually wrote them a letter and then they put it in Vault of Horror number 11, the reprint.
That's awesome.
So if anybody wants it, I'll sign it, and then CBCS can hopefully verify that.
They're like, nah.
Like, who's this guy?
They're like, is that Stan Lee's autograph? Sure ain't. Well, cool, man.
But so yeah, that's I know that's kind of how we met, was through the comic stuff though, because I first came to your shop. But
yeah, but we got into horror stuff very quickly. It didn't take long before we were talking horror movies.
It's such a fun genre where they can be made low budget and still be entertaining. They don't need stars. It helps when there are, but you're much more likely to watch a horror movie that has stars than somebody is to watch a drama that has no stars in it.
Right.
So if you have no stars in the horror movie, and now what they're kind of doing is like throwing Nicolas Cage, which I see back there, into a horror movie, right? And it's like people want to see him go nuts in it, and so that's, but that's. And then when I was a kid, it used to be where, they'd sprinkle in some nudity. They'd Roger Corman would sprinkle some in within the first 90 seconds. And then he'd sprinkle some in from the same girl within 30 minutes. And then from a different girl within this certain time. So that way you your mind pieces together that you saw more nudity, but you really didn't. But but it was all like marketing. In fact, even when he made this company, which was it was called New Horizons, which was his VHS company.
Okay.
The reason he did it was because he named it New because he through marketing, he found that people liked either the name Free or New, but Free didn't make sense in his field, so he's like, let me use the word new.
Free Horizons. People are like, what does that even mean? Pass.
Yeah. But people like to hear the word new in things.
That's cool. I like that. That makes sense, though.
I mean, everything you really go to is essentially marketing, right? Like when you walk into a grocery store, the way they do the layout is all marketing. They realize that people turn a certain way first.
Dude, the way Walmart sets up their toy section right next to their car area is brilliant, because you get there with your kids to change your oil. It's going to take 2.5 hours, even though it's only supposed to take 10 minutes. You walk in with your kids, the first thing they do is they see Legos, which are exorbitantly overpriced. They're amazing, but they're really expensive. And next thing you know, your $35 oil change is turned into a $120 shopping trip at Walmart, and they're laughing all the way to the bank. Which, hey, dude, what am I blaming them? Not really. It is what it is. But like, yeah, I mean, with horror movies being affordable and not having stars, that's actually one of the more fun things about horror movies, is that you can discover old movies with people that you now know, and vice versa. You can watch movies with nobody you've ever heard of, and then later on down the line, you're going, oh man, I remember that guy. He was in a bunch of these B movies I watched when I was younger, or yada yada yada, whatever. But I mean, I have a whole video series based on solely movies that are underground. B Movie Mondays, man. We do it every week, and I watch a movie on Sunday afternoon. I talk about it on Monday, and it's a movie that more than likely your average Joe has never even heard of, much less watched. So it creates a lot of fun and a lot of reasons to talk. I like the low budget, the no movie star having. I love that stuff, man. I mean, we got Sam Raimi from that stuff. We got Bruce Campbell from that stuff. Hell, we got John Carpenter from that.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of these, the way it works is people think that innovation comes from some of these bigger companies that put things out, but actually all the innovation comes from the small companies.
Oh yeah.
And then most of them don't innovate in a way that is able to capture any market audience. So then what they do is they go bankrupt, but 1 or 2 out of 1,000 get like a Halloween or get like an Evil Dead.
Well, not just that, but whenever a small company makes something that's innovative, they don't have enough money to protect themselves legally, and a big company just goes, we'll take that technology, or we'll take that idea, or we'll take that, screenplay outline, or whatever it is that they take from you, and then you're left holding your pecker because you can't afford to, protect yourself. And I mean, at least to my understanding, that happens frequently. I don't know, I could be wrong, but I feel like that happens all the time.
They definitely will try and eat you if they can, but like even if you look at outside of movies like Google reCAPTCHA, they didn't invent that, they bought the technology. So that whole reCAPTCHA thing is bought technology.
What's that? reCAPTCHA, what is that?
So when you go to a site and it says click to say you're not a robot.
Oh, that, man, I didn't know that's what that was called. Okay, man, that shows how much I pay attention to technology.
All of that technology where it brings up the panels. There's one called invisible reCAPTCHA. There's that one tries to only bring up the panel if it thinks that you're a bot. And it even records mouse movement to see if you move the mouse to get there to click it.
That's crazy.
That's how. And so that technology was not something they invented. It's something they added on to once they had it under lock and key. But it's not something they invented. They bought it out. And so same thing goes with movies where they'll, New Line Cinema, where they come out with Nightmare on Elm Street and then they get bought out.
And then you have stuff like Shocker.
But all the innovation comes from the smaller companies, and so it is nice kind of reaching out and finding these smaller companies, movies they put out. And so like regarding The Call, I know we talked about watching that, and you could tell it's funny because with Tobin Bell, you could tell they wanted to put him in a position where he could use his voice a lot, right?
Yeah.
And give rules to a game without violating any copyrights.
Right.
But they wanted to give him that part. So. And I know he had kind of a small part overall, and they probably could have filmed it relatively quickly. Yeah, but they did get him in there. They were able to put his name at the top. Even
I was pretty pleased with the amount of screen time he had. To be honest with you, I only knew that Lynn Shay was in the movie. I didn't realize Tobin Bell was even in it because whenever you told me this movie, I chose to just look at nothing about it, so that when I watched it, I was watching it as blind as I could, and so I only knew that Lynn Shay was in it, that it wasn't a really long movie, that it was a Shudder exclusive, and that it revolved around the kids in that phone. But I didn't know much else about it, so I didn't even know he was in it until I started watching it.
I did think, but you saw like the Lin Shaye part in it was there's a very small scene where she's just talking to the people, right? And then she has some scenes in the movie, but they're actually, if you were to time them out, they're not like most of the movies. She's not in most of the movie, right?
No, but I mean, most of the time in movies like this, the star more or less isn't. I mean,
right.
I can tell you how many Nick Cage movies I have where he's in 5 minutes of it, maybe, but he's the only one on the cover, like, you know. But and Bruce Willis is famous for that now, which is unfortunate because he fell down the toilet, did pretty bad. So, well, let's talk about the movie for a few minutes. Let's at least give a quick rundown of it and talk about it and kind of review it. You probably know more about this movie than I do. I only watched it once. I watched it 2 days ago. Give us a quick synopsis of the film, and then we'll talk about what we enjoyed about it and maybe things we didn't, if that's the case.
Yeah, so just essentially where it takes us back to the 80s, and it really didn't even need to be set in the 80s, but it takes us to the 80s, and then there's some twists at the end, but essentially the story is where somebody is believed to be a witch, which is Lin Shaye. It's believed that she's a witch, and so these teens kind of torment her a little bit for things that have happened to one of the girl's family. And there's a new kid in town who moved for unknown reasons that it's foreshadowing and you don't find out till later. And so I guess do I not want to give any spoilers here?
No, we go ahead, and anybody that doesn't want to hear any spoilers for this movie, go ahead and stop the video now. We like to talk spoilers on this channel because most movies that we talk about are either old or streaming, and it doesn't make sense. I mean, if you hate this channel because of a spoiler, then I probably wouldn't be a fan of the channel regardless. So let's just go ahead. Spoiler alert now. If you don't want to hear spoilers, go ahead, pause it or stop it now and revisit it later if you want to. Thank you.
Okay, so then after Lin Shaye hangs herself, right, then I left with her husband, who was out of town at the time when they were tormenting her, this dying wish of, I just want them to call on the phone, and essentially this phone is in her casket, and so you're calling the dead body in the phone, and when you call, she actually picks up, and then you go into this kind of vortex of hell.
Yeah, it's actually quite a bit better than I thought it was going to be.
It was, and so yeah, it goes through that, and them trying to survive it, and then there's the twist at the end as to whether she was really a witch, or they don't really get into whether she was a witch, but whether she was guilty of whatever she was guilty of, right? And so I did like a lot of the things in it. One of the things I found distracting though was they were using stock music that I've heard like multiple times, like when the guy puts the headphones on and he's listening, and they had that same like.
Dude, I wasn't sure if that was the case, but I sure felt like that was familiar.
Yeah, if you look up Triune Film, so actually, if this one's easier, if you just look up Film Riot royalty-free 80s synth. That's what that's what it is, awesome. And they actually give you all the files, so that way you can like resample it and you can move parts out. And so
you gotta do what you gotta do, but yeah, that's funny.
That's fine. It's just it was in my mind it was distracting because I've seen it so many times where it was like, oh, they're using that. So when it came on, like I couldn't help but laugh a little bit, and it would almost like if you're watching a movie and if you see the boom mic come in.
Oh, for sure.
It's like, oh, that killed it. Like, but what they were trying to do was, I know they were trying to set in the 80s, and that's how you make it more 80s, is you have the synth. It really didn't need to be set in the 80s. The only reason maybe is because of the way the phone and no cell phones.
I think that was probably their main reason for doing that. Plus, right now, anything set in the 80s or 90s is going to be at least a minor hit. I mean, that you can't just completely bomb, because people will be interested just for nostalgia's sake. I like the cover too. The cover looked good. Yeah, the cover looked great, and the music was familiar to me, but it wasn't. I couldn't tell you where I had heard it from before, which. Part of that's probably because I legitimately have a terrible memory, so more often than not, that's a hindrance to my enjoyment of things. But when it comes to movies, it really does help me out. I get to rewatch. I watch movies all the time that I've seen 3 or 4 times, and it's like seeing them for the first time. So,
well, sometimes maybe you're doing stuff too while you're watching it.
That's very true. But the music was for sure familiar, but I couldn't figure out why. I honestly thought it just was because it was generic synth music, which honestly, that's the case. But it's also because that generic synth music was probably in something else that I've watched within the last 12 months. That's hilarious. That's funny.
like $59.95. You get your own since. But I understand, because people get very angry when like Evil Dead's remade or something, or Halloween's being remade, right? Like people get very angry, but I never take it personally. First of all, it's not my property. I realize I like it,
right?
But I realized that like literally some accountant at the studio was sitting there and was like, we haven't made one of these in a while. And when we make them, we get a 42% ROI, and the risk is this. Somebody sitting there with actuary tables is doing math, and then he goes and he goes to the boss, right? And he goes, you were talking about you wanted to go to Bermuda. If you do another Halloween, you can go to Bermuda. You get to put braces on your daughter, like all
right.
This stuff.
Pay off your house, get that car.
It's really just it's a business, right? And
so many people cannot accept that, man. They can't accept that no matter what genre of entertainment that you are a part of, whatever subculture you're a part of, it is a business. The two most guilty parties in my experiences have been horror fans and punk rock fans, because punk rockers, they want it to be a real DIY, super, grassroots thing, and they just can't handle the thought of you making some money doing something you enjoy doing. And then horror fans, they just want you to remain true to the, original storylines and stuff, so much so that when you change something, they get upset about it most of the time, and rightfully so. They're entitled to be upset about something, especially when you do something crazy like Jason, the one where he's in New York. Like, that movie was absolutely horrible. Can you imagine waiting 4 years getting that garbage? I mean, I'm glad I was young enough to not see that in theaters, because I'd have been pissed off. But
remember back during that time, do you remember it was like you would go to the movie, like my dad would take me to the movies you weren't supposed to see. And then by the time Monday came, you were at school, and at recess, you were talking about the movie, and everybody's sitting there like, listening to you.
I used to love that. My dad would take me to the only grindhouse theater that I've ever been to in Houston. It was over in Bel Air, and it was a dollar theater, and I remember that the entire theater was really deep. It wasn't like a spread out complex. It was like they had probably only one side of the complex actually had screens. So you'd go in, and on your right hand side would be all the rooms to where you'd view the movies. On the left hand side, you'd see like a couple of bathrooms and then concessions, right? So it was like 7 or 8 screens. There wasn't very many. It was really deep, but the screens were nowhere close to the size they are now. They were like probably a quarter the size they are now. But you go in there, and for $1, you could see just about anything that they were playing. And if you were coming in on a weekday, like Monday through Thursday or something like that, for $2, you could stay all day, and you could just watch whatever you wanted. They give you a blue ticket instead of a red ticket, and then if you have the blue ticket, you're good to go. They would just keep track of the number on the ticket, because they weren't packed or anything. But I remember the first time, and I've probably mentioned this on this channel, so my apologies if I have. My first time ever going to that place, I was a very young kid, and I saw the new movie that had just come out was Double Impact, and the one that they paired with it was Rumble in the Bronx. So you got to see 2 like martial arts flicks. One was a little older, from China, and they brought that over, and it was all dubbed, and it was just horrendously dubbed. But then you got to see Double Impact. It was the first time I ever saw a naked lady, because she was in Double Impact. But I remember my dad and I got these Ninja Turtle pizza snacks. They were in a green bag, they were like little, I don't know, corn snacks. They were like circles. Oh, they were the most disgusting thing ever, and I loved every bit of it. But man, I'll never forget that memory, dude. Ninja Turtle pizza snacks with Double Impact and Rumble in the Bronx at this little grindhouse theater. I mean, it was so, I never knew what grindhouse meant until like 2 years ago, and when I found out what it meant, I was like, it was like a revelation, because that theater was so loud. If it was quiet on the scene, you could still hear. The machines were so unkempt. Man, I'm gonna go off on a tangent. I'm gonna shut up. I love that, dude. That was one of my favorite memories, dude. I loved it.
Yeah, and those memories, it's the little things you remember from your childhood, and they weren't even necessarily expensive, just kind of
right.
But like with the call, so I know that obviously they're trying, they have budgets, and they're trying to meet those budgets and all that, and so I get it. But I realize that they're also looking at what kind of stars can we afford and all of that, so they're getting them in for the. But I thought they did a great job with that. When I posted that I was going to watch it in the Shudder Horror Fans group that I run with other people, I got a lot of where people did not like it, and really? I was like, I'm gonna check it out, because I want to check it out, because I like to check out the Shudder exclusives, because I feel like they I feel like they haven't gotten stuff that's too bad. That I've seen.
I personally have enjoyed almost all the exclusives that they've gotten. Yeah. The only movie I recall really disliking on there was Veronica, and I don't know that was an exclusive.
But even there have been like a couple dubbed ones I've seen, not subtitled ones I've seen.
Yeah, I enjoy foreign film.
Yeah, so they've all been good. In fact, some of those have been pretty good. I know that they were just foreign, and then a lot of people will be turned off by it. But
yeah.
I don't know exactly what the call budget was. I did try and find some research on it, and I'm thinking it was, still a couple $100,000.
Okay.
And it's funny because looking at it, it looked like it claimed it made, like I want to say when I looked it up, it was. Let me take a quick look.
I mean, a couple $100,000. Honestly, I'm a little surprised at that number. I feel like that's a low number because the movie looked pretty good. I mean, there was some spotty CG at times, but unless you have a really high budget, that's just going to be par for the course, I think.
But the thing is that movies are also a lot cheaper nowadays to make than.
Yeah.
I mean, I remember reading a lot like back in the 80s, if you could make a movie for under a horror movie for under $1 million, like Stuart Gordon said this. He said, if you could make a horror movie in the mid 80s for under $1 million, you can't lose money.
That's amazing.
Now, I mean, that means with reasonable standards, but there's also a guy named Mark Piro who did this movie called A Polish Vampire in Burbank.
That's amazing. I never heard of it, but it sounds awesome.
It was something he shot in Super 8mm, and he had to those cameras were really loud, and so he had to redub all the sound and stuff. He actually was working at Universal Studios at the time, and so he got some permission, I guess some kind of ad hoc permission to use some of the sets there. And then it turned out like that person wasn't authorized to like give him permission or something. But anyway, he's still included in the stuff. He said he made that for a few $1,000s, and he made like a couple $100,000 from it because he said he bought a condo. He bought a condo in California with the profit.
Well, I mean, if you were to tell me that I was going to be able to get a movie made, and in that movie I'd have Lynn Shay and Tobin Bell with enough of their screen time that I could put them on the front of the box, and maybe even a picture of one or two of them, for a couple $100,000. I wouldn't have thought that was possible until we talked just now. I didn't know I didn't know that they would charge that little. I know that they're not uber famous or anything, but to me, a couple $100,000, I didn't know that either one of them would do a movie for that. But I guess so, huh?
I've been running the blog header I have right here, which is horrorbreakdown.com. So I've been running this since roughly 2011. I had a YouTube channel for it, and then a website and all that. And so I've actually talked to a couple people that have directed stuff over the years, and prices for making movies has definitely gone down. And also channels for making movie have profiting from movies have gone down, right? Because like a lot of these guys are getting like 6 cents every time somebody watches it.
Yeah,
so they're not getting a lot, but I've been surprised by some of the budgets I've heard where they're like, oh yeah, we got investor money and it was $200,000 and we made a movie. And there was actually one of the directors I met at Alamo who came for an event, and he did I feel like I can't say which movie it was, but he did a movie that he was producer of, and it was fairly well known, and it had let me see if I can find something real quick. It was.
If you tell me that movie title and then you have to bleep it out, just let me know.
I want to say it was the there was that it was I can't remember the name. It's the man who killed Hitler and then the Bigfoot. Have you seen that one?
Oh yeah, I heard it. I don't remember the. That's not the title, but it's close. That's very close to the title. Yeah, it's got who's in that one?
The name is on the tip of my tongue.
Oh my goodness, dude! That's got
Sam Elliott.
Thank you, Sam Elliott. That's awesome.
Okay, so just I'm not saying that budget is that movie, but
no, for sure.
Somebody who was involved with the movie came to Alamo for an event, and I had I was actually I kind of calculated where I would be last in line, so I could talk to him for a while. So I talked to him for 10 minutes.
Nice.
And they were just talking about some budget stuff, and there was a movie that actually got a lot of traction that he was a producer on, and he told me that they spent about $300,000 making it, and that was in 2013.
Huh.
And it did really well, and it was on the level that you would think it would be definitely something that Shudder would pick up. So I would say that nowadays, from what I've seen, but also as a non, I work in software development. I don't work in the field, but
yeah,
I would say for 100,000, it looks like people are making some pretty amazing things.
That's cool, man. That's way more attainable than I would have thought.
But you also have to think, like, how are they making money from that, right?
I mean, probably aren't.
I mean, they might be, but like, I would think it's from what I've seen, you know, it can be very challenging. Maybe they're making a little bit of money. Maybe they're hoping to make because the thing is that product is going to exist forever. So
I was going to say, maybe your goal is to get your money back pretty quick and then let it kind of ride after that, or even make back 80% of your money and not be stressing out. But and also, in a few years, you get a couple other opportunities, and then you make a few movies. Now you got a catalog of movies you've made, and then one of those pop off. People start buying your other stuff. There's no telling. There's all kinds of ways to make money.
That can work, like with Sylvester Stallone, where Rocky came out, and then the company released the Italian Stallion, which they renamed just to bank on it. But generally, a movie is going to make the most it's going to make within the first 2 years of it coming out.
For sure, no, absolutely.
But yeah, if somebody pops off or Trauma, where they were buying movies, they were buying the rights to movies that stars were in that hadn't made it, like Sizzle Beach USA, which Kevin Costner was in, which I never saw it. But it got horrible reviews. But they're like, oh, you know, Kevin Costner's first movie was a Trauma movie, and that's not 100%. I guess that's technically correct, but
it's not. I mean, it's not true. We can just say it. It's not true. It's a movie that Trauma distributed.
Yeah. But it wasn't like a Trauma movie that Kevin Costner signed up to be in.
Correct. Yeah, it's not like he was in Romeo and Juliet too. No,
right.
He was in a movie. And dude, that's the one thing about Trauma I don't like. Everything else I'm pretty much in for. But well, there's probably a few things. But we're gonna go see those guys this weekend, and I don't want to go in there with a bad taste in my mouth. I want to enjoy it. That's this weekend, right?
Yeah, this the 24th. Yeah, so yeah, that's Saturday, right? No, and I've actually met Lloyd Kaufman multiple times. I showed you he signed my Toxic Avengers. I have a fun time every time I'm there. They just have the rights to a lot of movies, and they've been sub-licensing those to.
Honestly, that's really smart if you can do it. If you can get there and have the foresight to know, like, okay, this guy might do something, and snatch up movies. I'm not saying there's anything wrong with it. I just don't like the way that they advertise it.
Yeah, well, yeah, and so in 2000, I want to say this was 2010, when Astron 6 put out Father's Day.
I love that movie. I love Astron 6.
So they did Father's Day. Have you seen Father's Day? Did you say?
I own that movie. It's amazing.
Okay, so Father's Day, they did their premiere of it, and they did it at the Katy Alamo on Mason.
So anybody that's wondering, Father's Day has got the guy who's in Psycho Goreman who plays the father in that movie. Dude, you should watch Father's Day. It's cool, man. That group of people that did that, the Vestron 6 folks, they're responsible for Manborg and the Void as well. Or all the people that did that are part of that crew of people. So if you like that kind of stuff, if you like Psycho Goreman, Manborg, the Void, that's who you're supporting by watching this stuff. Is all I'm trying to say. It's the same group of people.
Yeah, the editor was also one that they did, which they got funding from the Canadian government, I believe, because they're Canadian.
Okay, yeah.
But yeah, so they did a showing of Father's Day, and at the event, they were selling these DVDs that they put, Father's Day bootleg DVDs, and they were charging $50 for like a DVD-R.
I think. I don't know if this is one of those or not, but it looks really suspect.
Well, it kind of does, but push the tab out. Let's see the bottom of the disc.
Wait, do what now? You mean? Okay, no. It's not purple. Oh. I know what you were talking about now. I was like, wait a minute. Oh, I guess that would have told me, huh? I'm so dumb. I wasn't even thinking about that. But yeah, this is that movie. Man.
So they made that. So Astron 6 claimed they made that movie for $10,000.
What?
They claimed it. They made it for $10,000, but they claimed that Lloyd Kaufman actually advanced them the money, but said, "I will pay you $10,000. I haven't advanced it yet. I will pay you $10,000." They claim they never got paid.
I mean, would that surprise you?
No. But I'm just saying, and Astron 6 even started making a documentary called "No Sleep, No Surrender," where they were talking about the making of Father's Day, and they even went through that DVD-R issue I said, where Troma was selling DVD-Rs for $50 of the movie.
Yeah.
And then they were showing up on like the Pirate Bay and stuff. And so they got really angry because nobody had been paid yet at Astron 6, allegedly.
And he's making all his money from bootlegs.
So stuff like that, you're just like very careful. You're just like, But I will say, every time I've been to a Troma event, I've had a lot of fun. And it's been fun talking to him, Lloyd.
Well,
and
I mean, it in all reality, when talking about something like this, we weren't there, so we don't really know. But when you have 14 different people from 14 different places that don't even really know each other, talk about the same exact event happening the same way, walks like a duck, quacks like a duck.
Well, I'm just saying what I saw, because I've not been closely following, but I was looking for, whenever changes would come up, because I've been following that issue on some level since for 10 years.
In all fairness, I like that kind of stuff solely for the collectability of it, because I'm a collector and a lover of movies, specifically horror movies, more than anything. So I would like to have one of each of those. Like I want to, but I can understand completely how if I was to buy that DVD-R one, how the guys at Vestron 6 would be like, "Oh, come on, guy, what are you doing here, man? We got one for $29.99. Just buy it from us. Instead, you're spending $50 to get this one from Lloyd Kaufman."
Theirs wasn't out yet because Troma was the distributor.
So that's right. No. That's right, dude. You told me this because that was the big issue, is that it wasn't released, and he was selling, like, I guess, what would you call that? Like, I mean, yeah, it's a bootleg, but like, it's not even out yet.
He called them bootleg editions.
That's crazy that it wasn't.
But it was tongue in cheek. But when it's the distributor, when it's the actual, like if Coca-Cola makes a spin-off and calls it bootleg Coke, it's still real Coke, right? Because they're the rights holder. They're the rights holder to Coke. If the rights holder to Coke makes Coke, it's not a bootleg.
That's true. I mean, that's why there wasn't any kind of like legal ramifications for them doing that, because technically they had the right to do it.
No, and to be honest, Troma's been doing this stuff. Troma has been in existence for 50 years, so they're not dumb.
I've got so many Troma DVDs and Blu-rays and stuff that if you look at the same movie that I have two of, they look nothing alike. Like, none of the artwork's the same, none of the discs look the same, and I've always wondered, like, what do I actually have? It's honestly, it's also, while I like part of it because it's kind of cool to get 2 or 3 of the same thing and be like, oh, look what I've got. It's also really irritating if you want like a original legitimate release and you're like, I want the actual. It's kind of like getting Dawn of the Dead for a while on Blu-ray was really scarce and getting quite expensive, and I was watching a lot of people sell bootlegs of that, and you'd get it and you'd know it was a bootleg because the disc might be silver, but when you look at the artwork on the front of the disc itself, it would have like pixels, not pixels, but like the little dots that you weren't supposed to see, because it's supposed to be a smooth print on there. I don't know. It's a nonsense subject, but I understand the frustration on all fronts, and I also understand making your money if you own it. You make.
What was that? Was it Rubenstein, the producer for Tales from the Dark Side, where he was also Dawn of the Dead producer, and so he was trying. Was it Ted Rubenstein, where he was trying to do 3D on Dawn of the Dead actually too, and so he was holding.
I remember who that was. I think you're right though. But my memory of that stuff is very bad, so I don't. I'll remember it like 2 days from now, and it doesn't matter anymore.
Allegedly, he was the one holding up the release. Allegedly, because he was trying to do a 3D version. But now it's coming out. I had the Blu-ray one. I mean, I've seen the movie. I've actually got the comics too. Because actually, for Texas Frightmare Weekend.
For which movie?
Dawn of the Dead. Sorry.
Okay. I was making sure we were still talking about that movie.
Because they did a IDW. Was it IDW? I think I have the comics, but IDW did like a very small print run of Dawn of the Dead. I want to say there's only like maybe 13,000 their print run.
People think that's a big number, dude. That is not a big number for a movie of that stature.
No, that's a tiny
or a IP of that stature. Something with that name on it, and you're only going to make 13,000. Boy, that's going to be valuable one day.
Yeah, well, and also I was going to take it to Texas Frightmare because Ken Foree is going to be there. So
okay.
I'll probably have him. I've got like a VF and NM copy somewhere, nice. probably 9.0 territory.
Shoot, that's near mint right there. Anything 9.0 and above.
Okay, well, yeah, maybe we're 8.590. Well, technically 9.0 is VF too,
4.0 to 5.5 or something like that.
Somewhere between a 1.8 and a 9.8.
I don't know, man. I think it's somewhere in that 1-2 range.
But I've got a VF / near mint copy, and that's the one I'm going to get signed by some Dawn of the Dead people. But
that's cool.
Texas Frightmare is getting pricey up there, but yeah. So I guess I've veered us way off, but I also don't know that, like, I've shown comics in the Shudder Horror Fans group that I run, which if you go to horrorfans.net, that's where it redirects there. I have the domain for horrorfans.net. If you go there, it just redirects to the Facebook group. But awesome. I found that a lot of comic people don't really like horror movies.
Well, yes, you're probably right. I don't know
because I'll show off stuff I had. Like, I have the Reanimator one that I actually had you send in to CBCS.
Yes.
And then remember my Creepshow Zero, which
Dude,
I had.
Those are excellent. But see, here's the problem. Comic book fans are typically either people that are trying to make money, or they're like legitimate, like, geeky people. And a lot of geeky people would prefer sci-fi over horror, in my experiences. Yeah. And I'm not trying to dog nobody. I'm not trying to talk trash or anything. But, like, horror groups, I mean, horror fans are more like metalheads and punk rockers and stuff, and they don't generally care about comics much. So it's a little bit of overlap, but it's more like this than you would think.
Yeah.
You think it's like this, but it's not. It's like this. But, yeah, when I mean, you remember when I had the store and I was trying to focus some of my attention and store space on horror comics, and it just was not doing anything, man.
Right, I've seen.
I worked really hard on that stuff too. People just would come in and go, "Oh, that looks cool," and then just keep on walking.
Yeah, I mean, they really vote with their wallets, right? If that's the true test, is will they open their wallets and pay for it? Yeah. But I mean, I remember I actually picked up all the basket full of heads that Joe Hill was doing, the DC line.
Oh yeah, that's a good book.
I picked those up, and then now they've got the Conjuring ones, and I'll read them, and they've got couple different ones. But I've just noticed when I posted, I was like, Creepshow Zero, signed by I forget, I'm blanking on the guy's name. Who's the
and you get like dislikes. You're like, how? Why would you do that?
No dislike, but I had Reanimator #1 CBCS graded and then signed by Barbara Crampton.
That's exactly the kind of stuff I would be like, that's awesome.
Barbara Crampton, Bruce Abbott, Jeffrey Combs, all three. And I don't know if you remember, it was the Laserdisc release cover artwork. So it has Jeffrey Combs holding David Gale's head, and he's got like this up here. Jeffrey
Combs is one of the people that, is he still around? I don't know. I mean, I think so, right?
Well, I mean, I met him at Texas Frightmare. He's still kicking.
He's one of the guys I'd like to meet and get a signature from.
But also, just as a quick comic aside, when I was a kid, I may have mentioned my cousin was working for Bandai back in the 90s.
That's awesome.
So this is late 90s, like maybe 99 or so. Yeah, I want to say it was around that time. I got invited my cousin got me tickets to a yo-yo convention out in Los Angeles area. And I had no interest in going really that much, but I was like, oh, it's free and I'm a kid, I'll go. So, I mean, as a teenager.
Yo-yo convention, bro, come on.
But we went and Stan Lee was there. Okay? And like
just
no, not doing the yo-yo, but
no, I know.
But we went, and I remember they introduced him, and I talked to him, but they introduced him, they brought him in the room, and they were like, "Hey, everybody, it's Stan Lee." And like the part of the room that heard, because everybody seemed to notice, but the part of the room that actually heard turned around, and they looked at him, and then just turned back.
And dude, how heartbreaking is that to hear?
And then I went and talked to him, and speaking of horror comics stuff too, is like one of the ones I got really into was a Werewolf by Night, which now it's funny because Werewolf by Night was such like a bad investment over the years, and like I felt so stupid for like having his first like 3 copies of his first appearance, and it was like, oh, like you get like a 9.4 version for like $100 back then, and now it's like everybody wants it, and everybody's like, oh, Moon Knight, Werewolf by Night 32.
Yeah, was that Moon Knight? Was there anything else in Werewolf by Night, or was it just Moon Knight?
That was pretty much it. But there's a character, Topaz, who's in not a big character, but and to be honest, even Moon Knight's not huge.
No, but he's popular enough with the comic book crowd.
He's popular now, and back then he was popular enough to where in 1995 or 6. I paid $40 for my copy of it.
Dude,
so I mean that was a lot though back then, right? Because first of all, $40 then is probably like more like 80 to 90 now, I think.
Yeah.
And I mean, which I just don't remember. I remember him being a reasonably popular character, but he's not Spider-Man popular by far.
No, I mean, who is though? Spider-Man. That's it.
Or he's not even like Captain America popular or anything.
That sucks.
But Moon Knight. I guess even the West Coast Avengers. I mean, were they ever like really big?
No.
Right. So that's my point. But just comic stuff. It's funny how you're right. It's kind of like a Venn diagram, and it barely overlaps the comic things. And so I'll mention it, and people go like, "That's cool." They're like, "You like, oh, you met Jeffrey Combs? Like that's
all the people that fit into that category though. They're all the cooler ones because they're the ones that aren't super picky about either. They just like it all. I've had that. I'm not even kidding, man. It's kind of funny, but I'm very serious, dude. Like the people that like both of those are generally the guys that don't care if you back and board their new books. They're not trying to subscribe to anything. They just want to come in and pick up what they like. They want to come in and listen to cool music. They want to talk about cool stuff. They like the cool characters. They're fans of Moon Knight. They're fans of they're actually fans of like Morbius and like real like just like darker stuff, man. And they would read Image comics and they would like Cullen Bunn and Joe Hill. And at the same time, they also watch old famous monsters type stuff, but they like the new stuff. They're fans of Saw, and those people are always the ones that I've enjoyed the most coming around because they don't have. I'm even more finicky than they are, man. I don't want my stuff damaged, and I want my books to look nice and my records to look nice, and they just want to enjoy the medium. And I think that's something that's lost on people these days. Is nobody wants to just enjoy their medium.
How do you take care of your movies?
Do what?
How do you take care of your movies?
Depends on which movies you're talking about, because I have a bunch of them in plastic cases.
You do? Okay.
I do. Yeah, I got a bunch of them.
Is that when they have the slipcase? You're like extra careful?
Depends on what it is, man. All my boutique label stuff's in plastic cases because they cost so deadgum much. They're so expensive, man. They're $40 a pop, man. I can't be wasting that money. And I don't usually pay full price, but I don't always get them on sale. If it's like a pre-order, I just want it and I just order it. But like, I mean, as an example, I got a record in the mail today, and just the jacket of the record had a ding in the corner. Like maybe like the bottom corner, about half an inch of it was like bent. It wasn't crunch, it was bent. So there's a crease in it. And I paid $54 for that record, man. I want my money back because the record is useless if the jacket's jacked up as far as resellability. So while I hate doing that to people, I did tell the guy, hey, look, I'm not just trying to get my money back. If you want to talk to me about a partial refund so I can maybe replace the jacket, I'm all ears, man. I don't want to make this any harder on you than it has to be. It's not your fault necessarily. I just wanted to let you know this happened. But the people I'm referring to, they would never do that, man. They'd buy their record, they'd buy their comic, they'd buy their movie, and they'd read it, watch or listen to it. And that's it. And I kind of wish I could act that way. I wish I could feel it. I don't have it in me, man. I want my stuff to look as nice. Partly because I work really hard for it, and a lot of people that fall into that category are younger. They don't have the same responsibilities we have at 40 years old, and they have a little bit more expendable income. But yeah, man, there's a small group of people that I really kind of envy sometimes, man, because they just have a little more carefreeness and they just enjoy it. And I feel like they probably get more enjoyment out of it than I do. It kind of
also sometimes having, now that everything is kind of at your fingertips with streaming, I realize movies I really like, I still want that physical copy of it.
Yeah.
But I am pickier nowadays. But I don't, it's funny because Vinegar Syndrome puts out such good stuff. Even, other labels put out really good stuff, and I just try not to get too. I used to, back in the early 2010s, I used to get really caught, especially with Shriek Show, when Shriek Show was putting out. So like the Anchor Bay Creep Show 2, Shriek Show in like 2006, 2007, I was buying all those, and I was getting, as soon as they came out, and I was, essentially like you're like working double overtime to try and afford all those releases. I remember they put out. Have you seen the movie Burial Ground?
I don't know that one.
It's also called. I don't remember the name of it. It's Nights of Terror.
No, I'm not familiar with that one. All
right, Peter. Have you heard of Peter Bark?
The person Peter Bark?
Yeah, Peter Bark is this in the movie Burial Ground. Starting way over. There's this place called Via Parisi, which is in.
Folks, this is the holes that we fall into. We do this every time we talk. It's my favorite part about talking with Nick is because we start at A and we end up at 36 somehow. I don't even know how we get there.
So, Peter. So there's this place called the Hotel Parisi, Via Parisi, and it's in Italy. Okay. And so it's this really beautiful castle. It's this really beautiful castle. I'll have to send you a link to it so you can see the photos of it. But it's absolutely
a real place.
What's that?
It's a real place?
Oh yeah, it's absolutely beautiful.
I thought you were talking about a fictional place.
No, and they filmed multiple movies there, commercials there, but of movies that you might have heard of, and I'll have to show you Burial Ground because that one is absolutely just bonkers. And
I'm listening to you. I'm looking. I feel like I should know that, and maybe I just don't.
So Peter Bark is essentially this guy. His name is was it Pietro? He's an Italian kid guy, and he was like in his 30s when he plays this child. Okay.
Okay.
But he's like he's not a. I don't think he's a dwarf, but he's just a guy with stunted growth. Okay.
Okay.
So he's just smaller. But it would literally be like if he just made me smaller and then put a wig on me, and we're like, "Hey, there's Nick Mendoza. He's 12." So it's so awkward, and not only that, he has this like incestuous relationship. His mother doesn't do anything to him, like violate him or anything, but like he's like so enamored with his mother that he wants to marry her. Like he loves her to death.
Dude,
so like
that stuff's wild, bro.
And there's actually a twist at the end where there's something. It's nothing like where they do anything, but like it's just this crazy gory part at the end that kind of brings that home. And the movie has these zombies that are like these just impenetrable zombies that just are like absolutely evil and will like slice your head off. And the movie's absolutely nuts. You have to check it out. But it's called Nights of Terror, Burial Ground. It's since it's an Italian movie, it was essentially given multiple titles, but it's from like 1981.
Who directed that?
The name is on the tip of my tongue. Let me see.
I'm gonna look it up real quick because I want to buy this. I want to watch it.
You know what? I could probably even pass it to you in chat here, but it's the director is Andre Bianchi. So a lot
they got one that's Severin Films did one with a slipcover.
Severin. So I bought the Shriek Show one back in 2008 or something. And
okay.
That one I was like, oh my god, this movie's amazing because it was also on VHS from Vestron Video before.
Oh, that's cool.
So
I'm back into VHS tapes, but I'm super picky with them because I don't have enough space.
I hear you on that, but so Severin then put out like this killer release, and they even do a documentary on the place. Because I want to say it's Via Parisi, and I'm butchering it because obviously I'm not Italian and I don't speak Italian.
Dude, they call it Zombie 3. Did you know that?
Zombie 3 is something else.
This one, I see the same cover and the same description for Burial Ground as I'm seeing for. This guy's full of crap. Never mind. This guy's being shady.
Yeah, Zombie 3 is like a Bruno Mattei movie or Claudio Fragrisi, the guy who did Fragrasso. Sorry, the guy who did Troll 2. He did Troll 2.
Yes, dude, greatest movie of all time.
So yeah, he did Zombie 3, but yeah, they were really just banking on the name for those because Zombie. So there was Zombie, which is in Italy, was Day of the Dead, right? And then they had Zombie 2, which was Lucio Fulci's Zombie.
Correct. That's the one that they just recently did on Blue Underground, right?
Yeah, they did the 4K. Yeah,
the 4K. Yeah, 4K. Sorry. They have a 88 Films Burial Ground. It's Region 2, but I got a Region free player. It's only like $18 shipped, man. I might grab that up.
Yeah, but the Severin one is really good. I don't have the 88 Films one, but the Severin one is really good.
Shoot, for $18 shipped, I may just grab that up just because, man. That's a pretty ridiculous price.
But I bet you. I think Burial Ground's probably on Shudder even. But that movie is.
Probably. Dude, Shudder's great, man. Shudder's got a lot of good movies.
I'll bet you it is. But anyway, that movie is like really good, and it's one of the things that is like a quintessential kind of like early '80s exploitation horror film.
Nice.
And it just has so many likable parts to it, and especially if you're like drinking, it's kind of a lot of fun. But that same castle.
Nice.
At that same castle, it's not. I don't. Castle's not the right word, but it's like a villa essentially. At the same place they did Patrick 2, the movie. Have you seen Patrick, the telekinetic guy who?
No, I haven't seen that.
He can like kill you with his mind. Patrick 2, they filmed there. They filmed a Christopher Lee movie there.
Huh.
There's been a lot of stuff, and I'll have to send you the link for it. But it's Via Parisi. And on that Severin disc, they actually do like a short documentary on the villa. the movie I'm forgetting, which I actually just picked up on 4K, which I'm waiting for from Severin, is Andy Warhol's Dracula. Taste the Blood of Dracula.
What?
So they filmed that there. So if you check out any of the stills from that, Andy Warhol's Dracula, which has Udo Kier in it, like the backdrop of that.
Heard of that.
The backdrop of that villa is so beautiful. Like I actually would love to visit it one day.
Where's it at?
It's somewhere in Italy. I think it's actually I think it's actually like 20 or 30 miles from Rome.
That's crazy. Sorry.
But it's just a beautiful backdrop for movies, especially horror movies. And so yeah, Andy Warhol's Dracula they filmed there, which is Taste of Blood or Blood for Dracula. Sorry, I'm thinking Taste the Hammer one. Blood for Dracula is Andy Warhol's.
There's
Dracula.
So many horror movies. If you just come up with like the and then name something disgusting, there's a movie called that.
Because I think Taste the Blood of Dracula is the Christopher Lee movie.
I just got Blackula on DVD. I know that's not the same, but I like it.
I think that Blu-ray release for Blackula, the double feature one from Scream Factory, is actually out of print now, isn't it?
I don't know. I found a DVD at a resale shop for $2 and I couldn't believe it, so I snatched it up. Dude, that movie for $2, a used DVD of that's like $25. That thing's pretty hard to find.
Yeah, all those blaxploitation movies. There's also
anything on Soul Cinema. Dude. The reason I bring that up is because I've been on a deep dive of blaxploitation and like exploitation, nunsploitation, all the like women in prison movies. I don't know why I got into this stuff. It's because dude, you can tell what I'm into by just listening to me talk. I've been watching a lot of like exploitation and grindhouse stuff because I discovered. You ever heard of SRS Video?
Yeah, SRS Cinema. Yeah,
is that what it's called? Yeah. So I discovered them by accident at the local Houston horror show a few weeks back. I found some filmed on like video stuff that actually was pretty decent. I mean, it's not good, but I enjoyed it. Like I like low quality, kind of lowbrow, kind of tasteless stuff. I don't know how else to describe it. The stuff that just people are like, ugh, why do you watch this? I enjoy that stuff, man, because the people make that stuff only for one reason, and that's because they want to make a movie. So
did you pick up Did you pick up the? Okay, because they have the. I think the one that they just put out was City of the Vampires.
No, I just bought some older stuff. I found Garden Massacre. I found Slumber Party Sleepover Massacre or something like that. It was some crazy like complete ripoff of Slumber Party Massacre, but which is a ripoff of other movies. So,
well, Ron Bonk, he does he's the guy who runs SRS Cinema, and they put out definitely a lot of low budget stuff, but a lot of it's pretty good. But City of the Vampire is actually from 1993, and if you check out the VHS tape, it's got like these hands reaching up, all these hands. It's almost like you're at a concert, and then the guy is like got a stake and he's coming down on like just a group.
It's called City of the Vampire.
Yeah, it's from Vampires.
Vampires.
And it's from 1993, but that's one they just put out on Blu-ray, I believe. And but it's from '93, and they just kind of cleaned it up and everything. Do you know if the text is in yellow? Yeah, this is it. Yeah, this is it. But if you look at actually, there's a VHS cover of it. Maybe type VHS, and you'll see the cover.
That's dope, dude.
But that's like the SOV type stuff. That's one.
Yeah, I like that stuff, man. It's fun to watch because I mean, honestly, it's kind of ridiculous. But yeah.
But
man,
that's a Ron Bonk movie. Is City of the Vampires.
It's what?
Ron Bonk, the guy. The guy who runs SRS Cinema. That's one of his. So he's the guy who runs SRS Cinema.
That's a guy I'd like to get in touch with. Wow, dude, the VHS of that is so expensive. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, a lot of those are pretty pricey. I have some. In fact, let me show you one that I have of just a tape in general here.
Heck yeah, dude! I'm all about this stuff, bro. Show me as much of this stuff as you've got, just because I like looking at it.
But like even tape wise, I've actually slimmed down my tapes. So here's one that I really like.
That's awesome.
So this is the Tales from the Dark Side. This is the big box, so it's bigger than a.
That's amazing. That's beautiful.
So this is actually has my favorite Tales from the Dark Side episode, which is Word Processor of the Dog.
You're the one that got me watching Monsters.
Yeah, and what's funny is if you had bought a whole box of those are all out of print now. That's like $150 DVD now.
Oh man, I've got the box set, but I didn't get a case or anything.
No, I'm saying if you had a case, It's funny, and I know we had talked at the video store about this, but the company that used to actually make these is called the Video Store. These protectors for it.
Yeah.
It's called the Video Store Shopper. I forgot I have their case here and their phone number. But these are the ones.
I've got a couple of cool things I'll show you in a second. I bought that big box. Reminded me that I got the Color Out of Space clamshell, and I got it in a case. I also have Terrifier black and white and colored covers, but those are only one of 150 and one of 50, so they're real pricey. I don't really handle them very often because they're like in the hundreds of dollars each now. And then I
saw you pick those up.
Do what?
Yeah, I saw you pick those up. Also, the Manborg one.
Yeah, the Manborg on VHS. This is one of my favorite movies. But one of my favorite things that I just recently acquired. Check this out, dude. You'll probably appreciate this. I don't know how much, but you'll probably think it's kind of cool. Death Waltz Records did Slumber Party Massacre. Do you know anything about this soundtrack, the score?
I don't know anything about that. I know a bit about Death Waltz, but yeah.
But check this out, dude. So, whenever Slumber Party Massacre was being made, they were on a pretty tight budget, and you probably already know this information, but the people watching may not know. And they were trying to get a score made, and they were like, "Man, we don't know how to get this score for this film made." And one of the guys was like, "Well, I mean, I write music," and so they're like, "All right, cool." So they basically hired this guy without knowing anything about him, and he goes, "Well, they're like, okay, well, how are you going to get this? You write it all out, but how are you going to get it recorded? Who's going to be the musicians?" And he's like, "Well, I can do all of that." And they're like, "Okay." And they're like, "Well, how are you going to record all of the, different layers and whatnot, all the different instruments?" And he's like, "Well, I can't do that, but I've got this Casio keyboard." And they did the whole entire score on a $30 Casio keyboard. And that's ultimately why I bought this. But check out the color of it, dude. It's like hot pink and like neon green, bro.
That's cool.
Yeah, and I listened to it the other day. It sounds great. This is the kind of crap I love, dude. I will buy stuff like this until the day I die, probably.
I like those, and in fact, I had like the Reanimator one and the Zombie one, and then when they went out of print, I sold them.
I mean, when this stuff goes out of print, if you don't really, really love it, you should sell it because it gets hard to find. I mean, this one here, I paid, I think, $25 for it. I could probably get double or triple that right now if I wanted to. I know I just pre-ordered 2 copies. I pre-ordered 2 copies of the Psycho Goreman soundtrack and score, and I believe it's from Death Waltz as well. It may not be. I think it's Death Waltz as well, and it's on that magenta with like electric blue vinyl, and I've also got Color Out of Space on that, which is on the Color Out of Space color, magenta, purple, pink, vinyl. I love that stuff, man. I love it. I listen to it in the background. I don't do scores and soundtracks often, but the horror movies that I really like, for whatever reason, I guess it's just because I'm partial to those movies in particular, I can listen to those soundtracks and enjoy it. But
I like that green and red you got going on the record.
The thing's pretty, isn't it?
Yeah.
And it looks great on my record, on my turntable, because I have LEDs on my stereo now, because I got an old vintage Pioneer and Technics setup, and it like lights up from the bottom now, and it shoots light up through the actual vinyl, and it literally like glows. It's the craziest looking thing I've ever seen.
But I guess with my point is, I guess now with buying stuff is like I have this that I really like, and I have a couple of the Tales from the Dark Side big box.
That thing's amazing. It's so pretty.
But I have a couple of big box ones, and now I just have like a small row of them. I've kind of sold off the ones that, because I found that when I have a small collection, I actually enjoy the whole collection, whereas when I have a lot of them.
Ooh, that Bad Mama Jam was expensive, sir.
What is the Slumber
Party? The one
Party?
you just showed me. I looked it up just to look at some of the artwork on it, and I was like, it showed me some like listings for it, and I was like, that's not what I was looking for, but how much is it? And I was like, oh my goodness gracious, it's expensive.
Yeah, it's it's probably a couple $100 now. This one's in really good shape. I just really kept the ones I really enjoyed, but actually, and this one is actually, I take that back, because this one's actually one of my favorites. This is the
ooh, yes, I have a CED of that, and some actor is trying to buy it from me, and he's like, I'll do an interview with you before and after my movie if you'll cut me a deal on it, and I'm all about that. So if he gets back to me, I'm all about sharing the wealth, man. I'll sell it to him for a good price if he'll do an interview. I just like talking to actors and getting information about making movies. There's nothing. I'm not trying to name drop anybody. I just want to be able to talk to cool people that I like,
But definitely. And I just have a couple. This is the beta release, so I have a couple that I really like.
That's awesome, dude. Man, that's legit.
This one's actually like in comic book world. This would be like probably an 8.5. Like it's really clean.
That sounds very clean. That makes me kind of jealous.
Yeah, but I don't have a ton. But one of the also this one I've always been a fan of. This cover. This is Monster Hunter. I've always enjoyed this.
Yo, man, you got some cool, like the stuff you have. You're right, dude. You saved all the cherry stuff, man. I'm looking to get a studio for the channels pretty soon. I'm either gonna change my store around and close the store and not be public anymore and just be appointment only, and then use some of the space as a studio. And if I do that, I will be transferring a bunch of my personal stuff over to that place, and I'll be listing most of it online so I can buy, sell, trade it all to kind of fund what I'm doing. And then I'll acquire things. I'll probably keep like 10% of what I got that's just completely off limits, and then I'll have everything else that's kind of come and go. If I sell it, I'll just reacquire it if I need it for some reason or whatever. I mean, my Halloween box set from Scream Factory, I don't want to get rid of that, man. It costs too much, dude. So I'll keep that.
That one's out of print now, right?
Yeah, it's like $180, man. I'm not trying to spend that.
Oh, isn't that thing like $500 now?
Oh, is it that much?
I want to say because I had one.
Oh my goodness, I have no idea if it is. That's amazing.
I had one and I gave up at $350.
Woo!
And
well,
remember that
boy said I gave up at $350.
Same with that Jason, the Jason tin. I bought it for $60 back in like 2011 or 12, whenever they came out.
That thing is real pricey.
Yeah, well, it's dropped now that Jason box set came out that Scream Factory did.
Dude, somebody just posted a thing showing like a receipt that they found it at Big Lots for $5. The Friday the 13th Scream Factory box set.
What?
At Big Lots. I'm about to go to all the Big Lots tomorrow.
The only thing is on that one too is you had to mail in for the 2 discs that were defective.
That's really, really frustrating.
So like, I have the box set down there, but you're talking about you're talking about this one, right?
Yep, $5. I can't even really understand that, to be honest.
But and then I guess final tape wise is I have this one here. Oop, there we go.
Ooh, that's amazing.
Yeah, this one actually, I don't know if you could. It might be hard to see. It got a hard R.
Oh, that's awesome.
But
that's one of those movies that's not a good movie, but I still kind of love it for some reason.
But it's very likable. I got this one signed by Robert Brian Wilson. Crap, there we go. Right there, Robert Brian, and then Linnea Quigley. I had her sign it too.
That's cool. I'm supposed to be talking to Felissa Rose here pretty soon in the next week or two.
Sleepaway Camp.
Yeah, I reached out to her again the other day, and she said she was still down. She just needed to get some things taken care of. Like she was traveling, she needed to get home. Did you?
You met her at the Houston Horror Film Festival.
Yeah, she's really sweet, man. She was so nice.
But these are kind of like the main. This is a box set, the Blu-ray box set. But these are kind of the main tapes I like, and I like to look at them. And I don't have a lot anymore. I've kind of downsized a lot just because I don't have as much space now, and I'm trying to make room for stuff that I really enjoy. And I don't know if it'll actually come up on this, but actually speaking of comics, here's the.
Yeah, that one's awesome.
Tales from the Crypt. I'm trying to get it perfect here.
Because you got that silly background thing on.
Yeah, sorry. You must not see my face there, but Tales from the Crypt 22.
I think it's pretty awesome.
And then that's a, that's a 401. But looked great. So
shoot, man,
eventually got one of those.
4.0 is respectable on a book like that.
I think 4.0, and honestly, 4.0 is generally kind of the sweet spot in a lot of these like golden and even low, early Silver Age comics. 4.0 is kind of sweet spot. Same with like your Amazing Spider-Man 2. For your Amazing Spider-Man 2, 4.0 is like a great grade.
Yes, it absolutely is.
I mean, that's like a suit, and it looks clean. Whereas when you start getting into the 3s, you start getting those big stress lines. And
yeah, dude, 4.0 is a solid grade for a lot of books, though. I mean, when you get into like some of these super mega keys. Sorry, I got a million people trying to contact me. I'm like, I'm busy. Man, I'm addicted to the phone. I can't put it down and ignore it, even if I'm in the middle of something. It's very irritating. But when you get these mega keys, people want to talk about, I need like a 5.0. I'm like, bro, do you understand what a 5.0 fill in the blank book costs? You're talking 25 grand bottom. And they're acting as if they're going to go pick up this, VF plus copy of some book that only 30 exists. I'm like, bro, that's not go with your 2 O's and your 3 O's. If you can get a 4.0 of some of these books, that is a beautiful copy of a book from 1964 or older, or shoot, 1970 or older, really. Anything from pre-1970, you're starting to get in. That stuff's hard to find out. At my store, only books I have now are horror books. That's it, man. And all those are bronze and older, and it's getting hard to find those in good shape.
It's nice to see people going after like Ghost Rider a little bit more too.
Yeah, I get people coming in asking me about this stuff now that they know that that's kind of what I deal with. It's man, I think the way the store's fixed ahead is going to be in a very interesting direction. I think it's going to be less lucrative, but a whole lot more fun, and that's I'm cool with that.
That sounds interesting, like the way you're saying it's kind of changing, and then how you're talking about running the production area, kind of like a studio thing.
Yeah, we'll talk about it when we're not filming, man. But maybe you can come up this weekend. I'll be up there all weekend, and we'll talk about it a little bit. But let's close the show by talking about this movie for just a couple more minutes, because we really didn't talk about it much at all. Because, well, that's what we do over here. This happens every time I talk to somebody. We have a plan and we never stick to it. So
but the main takeaway is Burial Ground with Peter Bart.
Right.
You got to watch that movie.
The big takeaway is that and Psycho Goreman. Vastron 6, like, don't buy Trauma bootlegs unless you're just really hard up to watch it.
Well, some of the Trauma release, like Graduation Day.
Oh, that's a good one too.
But their DVD release of it was really rough, and it's full frame. Whereas they licensed it to Vinegar Syndrome, and then Vinegar Syndrome did a killer job.
This is full frame.
Yeah, it should be 133 on the back. Does it say?
Hold on, let me look for it. It's hard to read. It's in gray.
And the extra features were always very austere on those releases.
What does that mean?
Just very low budget. Not.
That's what I thought you meant, but I wasn't sure.
Yeah, just.
Man, I can't find it anywhere. I can't find the frame on here anywhere. Where?
Does it say 1:33?
No, I don't see it anywhere, but that doesn't mean it's not on here. I'm having a hard time reading this because it's just telling me the.
Wait, put it up to the camera. Let me see real quick.
This is the back of it.
Yeah, it should be. I don't see it there either, actually.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? I mean, I know they normally put it down here in the bottom area, right?
Yeah, it's full frame though. I had that one too, and then I got rid of it.
That's wild. And this has got Vanna White in it. That's one of the reasons why I bought it. I bought this one. This is one of the older movies that I bought when I was really young into getting into like B movie. And I say young as in like 4 years ago, dude. Like when how long ago was Hurricane Harvey now, Nick? Was that 4 years yet?
It's a few years, 3-4 years.
Yeah, 3 or 4 years. So whatever after that, since then I've bought this. I'm never one to like act as though I'm somebody I'm not. I've liked horror movies my whole life, but I just started getting into some of this like B movie and low budget stuff less than 10 years ago, and I really got into buying it since Harvey. I used to watch it, but I didn't buy any of it. I didn't really like it all. As a matter of fact, one of the main reasons why I started really enjoying it is because I had this, like, I won't call it an argument, but like a debate with my buddy Josh about Evil Dead 1 and 2. And he was telling me that they intentionally made it funny. And I told him that there's no way they intentionally made it that funny. They were trying to make a horror movie, and they weren't really good at it. And a lot of it was campy by mistake. And I don't remember exactly who was saying what in that debate. I may have that a little bit wrong. So Josh, if you see this, don't get all irritated. I'm just, I know we had a debate about that, but that got me to go back and rewatch those movies. And in rewatching Evil Dead, now that's a higher end, low budget movie in my opinion, but that'll open the door to stuff like this. If you're not careful, you'll end up watching that, and then you're going to fall into a rabbit hole, and then you're going to own Graduation Day full frame on a Trauma DVD and wish that it was widescreen. And but
now you got the Vinegar Syndrome release, and Graduation Day is actually very likable.
No. I like this movie. Okay. Oh, dude. What about Gorgasm?
Oh, SRS.
SRS. Yeah. Awesome underground movies that you need to see now. Bum bum bum. SRS video.
They also did She Kills, which is like wow, his name is on the tip of the girl's got the eye patch. What's her name? It's on the tip of my tongue. She's like a Swedish actress.
Crap, I don't know.
I
I don't think I know who you're talking about, to be honest with you. What, an eye patch?
On the tip of my tongue. Eye patch Grindhouse. Let's see. What the heck is her name?
It's like we don't know either, Nick.
It is on the tip of my tongue. Oh, Christina Lindbergh.
Oh.
Yeah. They call her One Eye. That's the movie.
What's her biggest thing she's done?
I mean, she did a lot of like, I mean, in terms of Grindhouse movies, you know, like They Call Her One Eye movie. So the one where she's got an eye patch.
Wait, is that real?
Yeah.
Huh. I must be thinking of somebody different. I don't think I know who she is.
She
That's
did. She actually. I mean, she still looks great for her age because now she's like 70. But she's a Swedish actress and she did a lot of movies, but they were like low budget movies. Yeah.
Movies. They all start out with like a waka chicka waka chicka.
But I mean, she's super attractive back then, and
that's cool though.
Yeah, but anyway, so Ron Bonk did that She Kills, which is kind of an homage to that a little bit, and so it's the girl with the patch, and Quentin Tarantino's Grindhouse double feature thing that he did, right? They have the girl with the patch.
Yeah.
So it all kind of larks back to that.
That's cool.
Yeah, Christina Lindbergh.
Have you seen
Lindbergh? Have
you seen Ricky O, The Legend of Ricky?
No, I had that. I had the that's like the martial arts one, right?
It is.
Yeah, I had the tape of that, but I never saw it.
That will be coming. B Movie Monday will be having that featured here in the next few weeks. I can't wait to watch that movie. I've never seen it. I just bought a copy of it.
I haven't seen. There's so much stuff to see. It's just like that's why I almost stopped buying a lot of stuff.
It's impossible.
I noticed when I buy it, then I say, "Oh, now I've time locked this. I can watch this anytime, even if the internet explodes." Whereas like now
and
stuff
then you never watch it.
Right, because then you're like, I better get to the streaming one because this is going to disappear. This movie on streaming.
Other movies. Yes, I fully understand that. I've done that many times.
Yeah, the ones I buy, I'm like, oh, this is locked in time. I can watch this anytime I want, and it's never disappearing, right? Because as long as it's here. So yeah, I've slimmed down the collection a lot, and like the tapes, I keep stuff that's very.
That thing's beautiful.
I really love this Charles Band cover back when he did Wizard Video.
That's awesome. I mean, you got the stuff you've kept has been top-notch stuff, though.
Yeah, it's Wizard Video. I know you have Dream Maniac. That's a Wizard Video.
Yeah, did you give me that one? Did I buy that from you, or did I?
No, you said you bought it off somebody just off the street.
That's right. Yeah, I can't ever remember. But this is my only big box movie. It's not in good shape, but I love it because I love Nightmare on Elm Street, and this is very obviously a deliberate ripoff of that. Dream Maniac, big box, super bad shape, but it's just a really cool one to have. I was debating, now tell me your opinion on this, Nick. I was debating carefully dissecting this and putting it in a clamshell, because I've got a big box clamshell at my store that would fit. It's literally the same size as this thing. Since the box is so beat up, how do you feel about that? Is that something I shouldn't do? Is it better off left in the box? I mean, is this even desirable to anybody besides me? I don't, who knows?
Well, first of all, so Dream Maniac, if you notice, so if you look at it, you'll see that there is
wake up and die.
You see this has a tab up here?
I do.
Yours should not have one.
It does not.
And so by the time they put out Dream Maniac, they had dropped the quality more to like cereal box quality. So like you notice the cardboard when you look at the inside, it just looks like very weak, very beat. So my point is, you've essentially got like what would be like a golden age. So you've got a golden age 4.0 right there. Is my point. I
mean, it's pretty awesome still. So I don't want to mess with it then.
So the worst thing you could do is create what's called a cut box.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have any desire to ever sell this or anything. So I was going to do
You've got a big box in your collection that's a very desirable as the way it is. You would right now, that's worth a certain price, but you would turn it into like a $10 thing if you cut up the box. And not only that, people would hate you also.
Yeah, that I don't doubt at all.
People would hate you for destroying your property.
People are so dumb. I'm looking for a protector for this so I can have it on my shelf that was my reason for wanting to do that, is because I wanted it to stay protected a little bit more. And I never did it because I was pretty sure it was a bad idea. But I was like, man, it would look so much better in a clamshell because it's beat up. But I also know that like with coins and currency, if you straighten it out and you flatten it and you get all the dirt off of it, you're ruining it.
Right. What's worth more, Amazing Spider-Man 2 in 5.5 restored, or Amazing Spider-Man 4 with blue label? Amazing Spider-Man 2 in a 4.0 with a blue label, right?
No, I 100% understand and agree with that.
That 5.5 is probably worth like a third of that 4.0, right?
I would say at minimum half.
Okay, let's say since you want to cut it up, let's say the worst restoration, which is trimming the edges.
Woo!
Because you can't take that back. You can't take a trim back. All three sides trimmed.
Sure can't.
So,
all right.
Yeah.
Cool. I just bought a plastic case for this guy. So I'll just stick it in there and leave it alone.
Yeah, definitely don't cut it up. Yeah, just enjoy it. Just set it up there.
I would like to have maybe one or two more big boxes that I could add to my collection. Nothing crazy. I just want something that has cool artwork. I'll probably never watch the video.
Something cool about tapes, though, that a lot of tape people are into is it has to be stuff they kind of come across in the wild, just out and about. It's kind of like the thrill of it.
Yeah, I don't care about that.
Okay, yeah, so then buying it on eBay would be your best bet, probably the easiest. But
now I don't like to just go and just willy-nilly buy everything that I want on eBay. I'll find like one thing that I really like, and I'll just start to search eBay. And I like to the way I hunt now is I like to find a reasonable deal on eBay. Not a great deal, not a steal of the century, just a reasonable deal with a good quality piece of whatever I'm buying. And that's how I get excited now, instead of finding it in the wild. Dude, you don't find stuff in the wild anymore. It's 2021. The stuff's pretty much gone. Obviously, that's not 100% true, but you know.
Yeah, it's obviously there's no more video stores in mass out there.
Such a bummer, dude.
And so most of the stuff I've found over the years has been, though, now moved to storage lockers and flea markets and contacts you make at flea markets. And there's some video stores I bought out I haven't done one in years now, but a couple years ago, there's a GT Video in Houston, bought them out.
That's crazy.
But yeah, those
I have
are
all my where's it at? Oh, I just got this recently.
Critters, there you go.
And this one has the Audio Video Plus that you sold me these boxes. I have I have 3 movies in these Audio Video Plus boxes at my store, and big giant pink stickers on the back to say the box is not included. Like, if you buy this video, you're buying the video, not the rental box, because I collect these and they're from a friend of mine. Like, I don't think you have some storage unit full of these things, so I don't want to get rid of them because I don't want to lose them.
No, in fact, I sold off most of those, so I don't really have that many. I have a couple that are for my collection, but those are
I kept like 5 or 6 of them, and I was like, no, I really like these. They look really nice. They're in good shape. They're a little yellow, but other than that, they're awesome.
And you got to remember, when those were purchased, the cases weren't that much, but they really protected the investment inside because the tapes were so expensive, right?
Yeah.
So they really, the goal was protect your investment, right? So since you're a store and you invested in this thing, you want to protect it all.
Yeah, so they're buying those things pennies on the dollar, slapping stickers in the back, and then 20 years later, we're like, I need the case, not the box. But
yeah, and they cut up all the cases, and then they thought the tape was worth the most.
How crazy is that? I hate when I get up. So I go out hunting at thrift stores and resale shops all the time. I mean, we all kind of do that. Stop in and check see what they got. Every time, without fail, when I go in there and I find some kind of, even like lower level, I won't call it a grail, but like a reasonably wanted movie, like something that if it was in good shape, I could get rid of it almost immediately, right? No matter what movie it is, it's always just thrashed, bro. Like, it's either cut, or it looks like somebody ran over it with a motorcycle and then kicked it down a football field and then stepped on it. I'm like, man, what are y'all doing to this stuff?
Well, a lot of that stuff got donated at the end. It sat in Houston garages for decades.
Right. Yeah, that's not good for anything.
And yeah, especially with the humidity. But I guess I should pull us back to finishing up about the call here, though.
Right. Best podcast of the year right here.
There's a lot of things that I liked about the movie. Was well shot. I don't know what camera they used, but it looked very clean. Obviously, I liked a lot of the atmosphere in there. I did feel like they could have compressed the timeline quite a bit.
Yeah.
I felt like they could have trimmed off 15 minutes or so and then
Probably
gotten me down closer to like 80 minutes. So I want to say it was like 97 minutes. I did enjoy it though. I don't need to own it myself.
Yeah, it's probably isn't one that I own, but I wouldn't mind watching it again with a friend that hadn't seen it or something.
It had a lot of. It was entertaining and it had some pretty cool atmosphere. Definitely low budget. The pairing of that girl and the redheaded guy, like I felt that it was a little awkward.
Yeah, that guy looked like a cartoon.
But it just seemed like a weird. It seemed like a weird combination.
No,
like that girl.
He's so out of his league, it's unbelievable. Yeah, it was a weird pairing. But like the funny thing about that movie, we both watched it. We both enjoyed it. I watched it with Carissa, and after it was over with, we had to watch an episode of Loki to cleanse her palate because she thought it was too scary.
Oh. It had a lot of cool atmosphere in there.
No, I love that because I don't get scared by movies, so I have to live vicariously through my wife to get scared.
But and I see this a lot in our Shudder Horror Fans group, where people will say like, I'm desensitized too much to this. Like, I don't. What's scary? Like, give me something. And rather than just lead them to like a donkey show, you're essentially like. My tip has always been, and it was back to speaking of hurricanes. Hurricane Ike, the first hurricane I went through in Houston. That was right when I had moved to Houston, and I lost power for 9 days, which wasn't that uncommon. And by the time the power came back, 9 days later, I was like so excited just to watch anything.
Right.
Because I had nothing for days. I was so happy just to have air conditioning finally.
Well, back then there was no smartphones. I mean, it wasn't like you could just pop on a movie on your phone.
Yeah, 2008. Even then, I don't think I would have wasted the power.
Or the expenditure you're gonna place on your credit card. I had to pay that phone bill later because your data was like $14 a second on there.
Yeah, but my point is that I think sometimes if you feel like too desensitized, sometimes it's like, why don't you try not watching anything like that for like a week or 10 days and then come back to it and see if it does creep you out.
Right. I mean, I don't know if I could do that. Well, okay, back to The Call. I really did enjoy the movie quite a bit. I thought that for the amount of money they didn't have on the film, they were able to accomplish quite a bit. I like the atmosphere. I like the sound. I like the 80s throwback stuff. I'm really into that personally. I mean, if you can't tell, my backgrounds are always hot pink and stuff, and I always have that kind of stuff on in my store. I always watch it in my free time. So I was pretty excited to see that, and I really like to support anything Lynn Shaye's doing because I feel like she's a very much a forgotten legend in our genre, and I think people don't talk about her near enough. She doesn't get near enough credit. I mean, dude, wasn't she in Nightmare on Elm Street 1? Wasn't she the teacher?
Yeah, she was. Bro,
this woman's a legit living legend, and I rarely hear anything about her. She popped up on a list from like What Culture the other day, and I don't really care for that channel much, but I mean, I do, but they're so scripted. It just feels very vanilla to me now. But I was happy that they mentioned her. She needs more credit, man. She's a pioneer, man. She's been around for a long time, doing a lot of stuff, and she's more of a character actor and a bit actor. She does these small roles, and I don't know. I just want her to get appreciated. And anything Tobin Bell's in, I'm going to watch. I think that guy. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but to my understanding, he didn't even start acting until way later in life. Is that true? That's what I heard.
I'm not sure about way later because have you seen Mississippi Burning?
Man, I have, but that's been a long time. I don't remember.
He was one of the FBI agents in that.
Okay, well then, whoever I heard that from must have been mistaken. But
I mean, he wasn't young when that happened.
Yeah, that's cool, man. Well, shoot, dude. Anybody still hanging out with us? Thank you so much. I know we went off on a bunch of different tangents, but that's kind of what this is, man. We wanted to talk about The Call for a few minutes. We accomplished that. We got a lot of other things talked about. We talked about The Call 3 different times, and we probably spent a total of 15 minutes talking about it, which in reality, that's what a movie review would have been, 10, 15 minutes. So, I mean, I'm happy with that. And
to be honest, I think that kind of, to me, it speaks about the movie because I thought the movie was pretty good, but it wasn't something I need to see again.
Well, we didn't say anything negative about it, really, and that speaks volumes because on Shudder, they're going to get a lot of movies just as far as volumes considered. They're going to get a lot of stuff. They're going to get rights to a lot of movies, especially older movies, and they're going to get a lot of exclusives. And, dude, I would imagine some of them are going to miss the mark. And I haven't seen many of them like that yet, but I doubt that's far away. I mean,
I think they're trying to keep the quality to a medium point, though.
it shows. Yeah. It shows because they don't just throw everything that's garbage on there. I mean, there's tons of movies that they don't have like SRS stuff on there. That's not on Shudder, and they could probably very easily acquire the rights to that.
They could I'm sure they could easily license that. Yes.
Hell, it's on Amazon Prime, but it's not on Shudder. How crazy is that, dude? Garden Tool Massacres on Amazon Prime. I was like, that's not real, and I hit play. I was like, oh, it is real. I was like, that's unfortunate. But,
I crowdfunded a little bit of a Leaf Blower Massacre Part 2.
That's so ridiculous. Leaf Blower Part 2 makes my head hurt.
Yeah, it's when autumn arrives, everyone dies.
Yes. Never mind. I'm in. That's awesome.
Yeah, that one's on my IMDb credit. I have.
Dude, I like Dude Bro Party Massacre 3 because there's not a 1 or a 2, and I didn't know that when I bought it. I thought there was a 1 and a 2, so I bought it with the intention of watching a trilogy, and there's just not.
I've heard of that one. I haven't seen it.
Oh, dude, one of these days you've got to check it out with me, man. It's a pretty hilarious movie. I've got a copy at the house and at the store.
Cool.
All right, everybody. Thanks for hanging out. This is a long podcast, and those are my favorite kind. I love long-form conversation. I do plenty of videos every week that aren't longer than 10 minutes, so it's nice to get these long ones in and get you guys something to listen to when you're driving or something. So let us know in the comments below what you think about all this stuff pertaining to Shudder, the movie The Call. If you've seen it, what do you think about it? Lynn Shay, Tobin Bell, all these big box movies, the collectible market, comic books, etc., etc., etc. Let us know what you think. Good, bad, or ugly. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, next time we'll have to talk about the Trauma NFTs.
Oh, dude. Yes, let's do that next time. Thank you so much, everybody. You know the mantra over here, everything 31. Take care of yourselves. Be kind to everyone else. We'll see you real soon. Have a good night. Peace.
Yeah.